Some people call it the greatest moment in Montreal football history. I tend to agree. When the Montreal Alouettes took on the Edmonton Eskimos at the newly constructed Olympic Stadium at the 1977 Grey Cup, we knew it was going to be a great contest. We didn't know that was going to turn into something called the Ice Bowl. Now, the 65th Grey Cup was played on November 27th, 1977, with the Alouettes outlasting the Edmonton Eskimos 41-6. Now, the troops of Marv Levy were taking on the tribe of Hugh Campbell and came up with an early 10-0 lead to basically put the hometown crowd into a fever. 68,318 people showed up for the contest, one of the biggest crowds ever in Canadian sports history, and it still remains a CFL record for the Grey Cup. Now, it's called the Ice Bowl for a number of reasons, as the playing surface was more than ideal for hockey than football. A blizzard had hit Montreal, and which hit the Maritimes right after, 2 days prior to the game. So most of Eastern Canada was under a very, very early winter motif. Now, stadium crews had salted the field to melt the snow. But when the temperature plunged the next day, the melted snow turned into a sheet of ice, similar to what happened with Dallas and Green Bay in '67. To combat the conditions, many Alouette players affixed staples to the bottom of their shoes in order to get good traction. The move was spearheaded by star defender, the late, great Tony Proudfoot, as he decided to use the help of a stapler gun to do it. Now, the game was the third Grey Cup meeting in 4 years between the Alouettes and the Eskimos. Montreal won 74 under rain in BC, while they lost 9-8 in a rematch the next year on a missed late field goal. Now, with a record Grey Cup crowd of 68,000 at the stadium, the home team did not disappoint. Now, Sonny Wade, who was the MVP of the 70 and 74 games, completed 22 of 40 passes for 340 yards and 3 DDs. He was intercepted once. Montreal had a total offense of 424 yards, making 21 first downs. The Eskimos were held to just 102 yards and turned the ball over 10 times, 6 times in the first half alone. The kicking game carried over from the 75 Grey Cup as Montreal's Don Sweet and Edmonton's Dave Cutler scored all the points in the first half. Now, Sweet was good on 3 field goal attempts and missed 1 for a single point. Now, with Edmonton trailing 10-0, Cutler finally put the Eskimos on the scoreboard on the final play of the second, connecting on a 9-yarder. Sweet booted 2 field goals, and Cutler kicked another before a Grey Cup touchdown drought, spanning 8 quarters between these teams, was finally put to rest. Edmonton running back Angelo Santucci's fumble set up an Alouette scoring drive. Wade threw a 700-yard touchdown pass to the great Peter Dallariva to put the Alouettes ahead 23-6. Just prior to the start of the fourth quarter, Wade threw a 10-yard major to the wide-open John O'Leary, and the rout was on. Now, cornerback Vernon Perry returned an interception 74 yards to help up Wade's 7-yard touchdown pass to veteran Bob Gaddis. Sweet added a single and field goal to complete the scoring. He set a number of records in the games. Sweet had 6 field goals and 23 total points, records which still stand. The game also marked the Alouettes' third and final championship of the 1990s. For the Eskimos, it marked their 4th loss in 5 trips to the final since 1960. Now, although Olympic Stadium was designed to have a retractable roof, and a roof was added in 1987, the stadium was an open-air facility in November of that year. As in common in late November, Montreal received a fair amount of snow before game time. Now, stadium crews again put salt in the field to melt it, but when the temperature dropped on game day, it turned to a sheet of ice. Now, several fumbles on otherwise routine snaps of the ball occurred in the first quarter. However, the Alouettes had a competitive advantage. They affixed staples to the bottom of their sneakers to get traction on a slippery surface, which was not illegal. The Eskimos, using standard football cleats, never quite found their footing on the icy AstroTurf field, which had a carpet-like texture then, unlike modern artificial turf systems. Now, again, Proudfoot, who was at the time an Alouette defensive back and a man largely responsible for perhaps the cleverest ploy in Grey Cup history, described it this way. We just had our 25th anniversary reunion of the team which had bet Edmonton in the 77 so-called Staples game. I was asked about it again. Of course, it was icy cold, and there had been a big snowstorm with a transit strike, and fans walking all the way from downtown to Olympic Stadium. The field was a skating rink. Guys were trying different kinds of footwear, broom ball shoes and things like that. All week long we've been thinking of what footwear to use. We knew it was going to be slippery, and nothing really was any good. On a frozen field, a lot of players like to wear broom ball shoes, but it didn't work very well. Another alternative, because the field was so hard, was screw-on cleats. Nobody really used those anymore, but they were available. We tried grass cleats, AstroTurf cleats. Nothing worked. I experimented during the week. I even thought about putting nails through my shoes. By game day, a bunch of guys settled on using steel cleats. Before the warm-up, I noticed a guy from Bell Canada walking by with a staple gun. A light bulb went on. I've tried everything, but I'm not that. So I tried staples in my shoes. I stapled an X on about 6 bumps. Gordon Judges and Chuck Zypek also put some in too. We looked at each other and said, that's it. At the start of the game, about 12 guys had them in, and by halftime was half or 3/4 of the team. The numbers aren't precise because this wasn't organized. The coaches weren't in on it, and the equipment guys had nothing to do with it. It was just the players. Wally Buono was involved. In my opinion, it made a big difference. With that little bit of group, it gave you extra confidence. Grip. We really knew we had something when Jerry Detilio caught a short pass from Sonny Wade and ran past Larry Highbaugh for a big gain. Jerry will tell you that he was not very fast, and Highbaugh was known as one of the fastest guys in the league. That's when we knew we had something. It was a big factor in that 41-6 win. To me, it was a big deal. I still have that staple gun. To me, it's a prized possession. Now, this quote again is from a big article that Terry Jones had published in the Edmonton Sun on November 22nd, 2002. Now, again, Grey Cup attendance record 68,318. Now, even though it was a bitterly cold day and Montreal was in the midst of one of its frequent transit strikes, local fans led the many football tours to the game in a march across town, trekking from downtown to East End Stadium on the morning of the game. Now, Alouettes defensive back Vernon Perry, his 74-yard interception return is the longest in Grey Cup history. Again, to 23 points, most points by a place kicker. Now, Edmonton and Montreal have met in 11 Grey Cup clashes. The Eskimos prevailed from 54 to 56, 75, 78, 79, 2003, and 2005, and the Alouettes were victorious in 74, 77, and 2002. This was the first of 6 consecutive Grey Cup appearances for the Eskimos, who would go on to win the next 5 CFL championships. The 77 game was the first Grey Cup again played at Montreal Olympic Stadium. So, score by periods: 10-0, 10-3, 36, and 41-6. Again, the scoring stats: 3 straight field goals by Sweet, then a single, field goal by Cutler at the end of the second, then a field goal by Sweet, field goal by Cutler, field goal by Sweet, Peter Dallariva, 7-yard pass from Wade, then O'Leary scored a 10-yard pass from Sonny. Fourth quarter, 7-yard pass from Sonny Wade. Sweet had a convert. Sweet missed a field goal, and then another field goal by Sweet. So again, technically, it could have been much worse for Edmonton. But I watched that game from start to finish. What was kind of bizarre about this, the power was out before the game went on because we had about 1.5 feet of snow. And this November 27th was one of the worst November days I've ever lived through. But we knew something was going on because my dad's young friend Kurt showed up, and he said my dad's nickname was Freddie. He said, "Freddie, going to watch the game?" And Dad said, "Well, it's pretty icy." "Well, yeah, can I stay for a while?" So we watched the game with us. But when he left, it was only 10-0. But at the end of the game, boys, we knew we were part of something heavy, because a lot of people didn't know what was going to happen to Montreal in the next few years, because losing in 78 and 79, we were the marquee franchise in the CFL. But when the 81 to Ferragamo era literally killed the franchise through the machinations of Scalabania. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story about the Ice Bowl. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And don't forget, if you have a chance, watch the game. And let me tell you something. If the Montreal Alouettes learned anything from the Dallas Cowboy Green Bay game, you have to use a little bit of ingenuity to survive an Ice Bowl. Thanks for listening. Bye.